Find my phone charger. I've been missing it now for a couple of days. I don't know where it is. Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're going to talk about a bank robbery. Is it a bank robbery? Is it not a bank robbery? We're going to talk about somebody who chickened out on a bank robbery here in Pennsylvania. Interesting story. Also, they released how many government employees make over $100,000 in the state of Pennsylvania. I think I gave away the number to you, but I still might make you guess what it is. Higher than what I expected. Was it higher or lower than what you expected?
I need to know how many governmental employees there are.
There are total. We'll dive into that here in a second. And then pets and relationships. A sad story about a relationship ending and the life of a pet ending. But I think there's a lot of different ways we're going to talk about it. Before we get to all of that, today, Tuesday, first day of March.
First day of March.
Mark, is the Flonase flowing? How are you feeling today?
I was just thinking that. I got to go today.
Okay.
It's March is here. Let the madness begin.
What's funny? For whatever reason, I have completely removed myself from college basketball this year. I have not watched.
Like basketball very much.
That's what it is. I just haven't watched as much. I don't know if it's just because of everything that's going on. Maybe just like actually being out in the world again. Like I don't know what's happening, but I have completely avoided college basketball.
Well, see, the problem for you is that your team is still winning.
We're still playing.
I was because what else did you do on Monday night? I went back to a gym.
Yeah.
I was watching more basketball last night. And one of my assistant coaches was there watching with me. And I said, we were talking about things that we saw during college games. Like, did you see how they ran this inbound? Did you see how?
Yeah.
And I said, I watched more college basketball Saturday and Sunday of this past weekend than I had all season.
Okay.
Because we're done there.
Yeah.
You're not done. So
So I'm not quite there yet.
You're not there yet.
But it makes for, I've never been good at the bracket, but it makes sense because the last 12 years, I just don't get to dive into college basketball. I really struggle with it.
I'm not sure. I don't.
It makes a difference?
Yeah, I'm not sure it does.
Do you have anybody in your life that just picks off of like color or mascot or?
My ex-wife won 2 pools.
Okay.
And knew nothing.
Okay.
And I say won, like I don't know if she won the whole thing, but she finished in the prize.
Okay.
We had one of my favorite stories. I worked at a small medical research company in outside of Baltimore, and there's probably 10 of us in the whole place.
I thought you were going to say 10 of you in Baltimore.
No.
Yeah, I know.
10 or 12. It wasn't a huge place, but
yeah.
My buddy who was the CFO loved college basketball.
Okay.
Loved, and so he's running the pool. And, there's foreign guys who don't know anything about it, but they're filling it out because it's just, it's a bracket.
Sure.
Well, the poorest girl there was our receptionist, and she was 21, 22, and, her, I don't think she was married yet, but, they didn't have a pot to piss in.
Sure.
And it was $20 to get in the pool. And she was just like, I don't know anything about basketball. And he's like, just fill it out. Everyone else filled it out. She's like, I don't want to waste my $20. It basically came down to the point where he's like, you will be fired if you don't fill this out and give me $20.
Okay.
By the time she was leading after day 1, she had a commanding lead after the first weekend. By the time we got to the Final Four, he had already paid her because nobody could pay.
It's a good story.
And it was like, there was literally like 2 minutes of tension where she's like, I want to do it. He's like, you will fill this out and you pay me $20 or you'll be looking for a new job. I don't think he really said it like that.
Sure.
But that was the impression. Like, I'm the boss. You're pissing me off. Fill this out and give me $20.
All right.
And then she won.
That's pretty great.
Now, unfortunately, that was the same. I don't know if I ever told you this story. It was the first time, maybe not the first time. The Powerball went to like 300 million.
Okay.
And if it had ever happened before, it had happened like once.
Okay.
Now it seems to happen like once.
It feels like it happens more than it
used to.
And
I think what's happened is more and more states have gone into the Powerball and the Mega Millions.
Okay.
So the jackpot goes up quicker is what I think's happened. But I don't know. But I was working south of Baltimore, and Maryland did not have the Powerball, but Washington, D.C. did.
Okay.
So it was probably a 45-minute drive. So I volunteered to go down, and everybody chipped in $5, and I drove down to buy the tickets.
Sure.
And this one guy, he's an Asian guy. I don't know what his real name is, but everyone called him Doug.
Okay.
So he hands me the $5 for the thing and for the pool. And then he hands me $10 for me to buy him extra tickets.
Okay.
And I said, Doug, I'm not going to do that. And he said, why? I said, because if we came back and we divided up, like, these are all our tickets.
Yeah.
And these are your tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you won, we would kill you. So I am just preventing a possible murder.
Right.
Because if you won in our group of tickets, no one would care.
Sure.
You're already in.
Sure.
But if we collected, like, here, these are all ours,
Mm-hmm.
and these are yours, and you won, and they came out of the same pouch,
Right.
like, we would kill you.
Right.
So I'm not doing it. I'm saving your life.
Yeah, that was very honorable of you.
It was.
No, it really, really was.
And when I drove down the street into it, I'm looking for like a lotto sign or something in a Unimart window.
Yeah.
And I'm driving down and I'm looking at, and all of a sudden I see this gas station and there's people like lined up through the parking lot. I'm like, oh, here it is.
Right.
And they were printing them. They were just printing them as fast as they could. You couldn't fill out your own tickets.
Yeah.
They were just like, how many you want? $10? Boom. $20? $50? And it was nuts.
Yeah. It's
And we didn't win.
bonkers.
Needless to say. That's why I
No. Oh, that's rude. You want to still be doing this even if you won?
You know, I'm sure everyone that's ever bought a lottery ticket has thought of that. Like,
Thought about
what would you do? You would obviously keep coaching.
I would just coach. I think I'd still do other stuff, but I mean, the main gist, like the thing that I would do is just work with kids and coach, I think that's what I would fill my time with.
The people who would still actually go to work because they like what they do
Mhm.
they've already won.
Yeah, I agree. Look at that. That was sentimental. You turned that around real quick. That was good. Let's talk about bank robberies. Huh?
Yes.
How about it? This is
Nothing says sentimental. Just picture the apple dumpling.
Yeah, essentially. This is a story you can find on Penn Live. Would-be Pennsylvania bank robber chickens out, runs before teller opens the cash drawer. Here's the simplified story. Turns out that the bank robber suspect is from northern Pennsylvania. He walked into a M&T bank in Luzerne County, and he had on the whole face mask, hoodie. He claimed he had a weapon. Hands were kind of like in the pouch. Claims he had a weapon, tells the bank teller, I'm armed, give me the cash. And before the teller could even open up the drawer, the robber turns and sprints out of the bank. They have not found this person. They're still looking for him. I find the psychology of this fascinating. To work up the nerve to get up to the teller is just astronomical, right? Like the nerve that you would have to figure out, the desperation, whatever it may be, to actually get up to the counter and just demand the cash and say, I'm armed. And then within the flip of a switch, just completely bail. I'm fascinated by that.
So, first clue, this is me being Kojak here.
Okay.
Not a hardened criminal.
Just a kid. Well, or I would argue yes, or the complete opposite. Seasoned vet, saw something immediately that was a red flag, and was like out. I know this, I'm out. So while I agree with you, I also think it's a 50-50. It's one or the other. Either they've never stolen a pencil before, or they are a seasoned pro, immediately was like, this isn't making any sense, I'm out of here.
Yeah, that could be. You're right. It is a coin flip, which
Yes.
they're at one end of the spectrum.
That's my feeling. Not a lot of gray area.
Or he just misunderstood the timing. Like
The timing of
tell her, I got a gun, put all the money in a sack, and then he just forgot to wait. He needed to give her like 45 seconds
to fill up the sack.
Run. He just ran a little too. He was offside.
It's
false start, 1st and 15.
It's interesting. So they have a picture of the Hanover Township Police. They released a picture. He's in a purple hoodie, yellow cap, winter cap, and then he has on a white mask that takes up like the entire bridge and all the way down through. So you can't get a good feel for it. The teller's saying that it was a man that is in the video. I don't know. The nerve, because imagine, like, let's say he isn't a hardened criminal, which you're probably right. He probably is not. Let's say he's not a hardened criminal.
Then you follow the trail of urine down the street.
I mean, you must, but imagine that his morning. I mean, you have to be, I mean, you're talking yourself into this and you're revving yourself up and you make it into the bank. And not only do you make it into the bank, you make it up to the teller and you actually say the thing you said in the mirror 100 times. And then, like, after you say it, either just this flood of like, oh my God, what am I doing? This flood of like, I'm going to get caught. I'm going to get caught. I'm going to get caught. Just whatever psychologically went through this guy's head, that he had all the momentum to get there and then immediately lost it. Just immediately lost your mojo.
How do you get away?
Like,
you have to go out and hop in a car, right?
This says he was last seen running towards a CVS pharmacy.
Well, then isn't there security cameras? Like, wouldn't the bank then call CVS?
I would think so. The police would, yeah.
Or they call the police and say, there he goes, he went that way?
It's possible. They might still catch him. I mean, this just happened yesterday before they closed.
I know, but I can't imagine getting, like, 2 miles away.
Getting away?
I can't imagine getting away.
But see, so this is another good question. I think more people get away than not.
I mean, I guess the only... Okay, let me rephrase this. I'm assuming the reason people get away is because how much do you make working at the bank? And when the guy says, stay down, that the people are like, I'm not getting shot over somebody else's money.
Sure.
Because I ain't getting a raise no matter what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy runs away. They're not really sure what way he ran. He runs, his car's parked a couple blocks away, whatever. He strips the hat, he strips the mask.
Can I ask you this? When you watch a bank robbery movie or show, okay, and I do this all the time, I'm never shocked when they get away. Are you
always shocked.
You're always shocked when they get away. But see, like, when you walk into a bank,
it's a movie.
See, I'm like,
all the police chase this way. Then they jump one car, a truck pulls out, and then all of a sudden there's no more police.
Okay, let me rephrase this, and I might be incriminating myself by saying this. When you walk into a bank, when I walk into a bank here or up north or wherever I may be, when I walk in, I never think to myself, boy, this is a fortress. Like, boy, it would be really hard to get out of here. Like, those are never things that,
it'd be hard to get out the door.
That's what I'm saying.
But then someone sees you and they're like, there he goes.
Yeah, but how do they? I know, but how?
He just got in the blue car.
Yeah, but how do they know that you're doing any of that outside of the building? I'm never shocked when I watch this stuff or I read this. I'm never surprised.
When you leave the bank, the gunfire.
No, what gunfire? When's the last time you've been at a bank and you were like, boy, something might go down here? Like,
all right,
do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't know how
You disagree?
I just can't imagine that somebody's like, well, there he goes. That's it. He just got in a car. He went that way. And then the helicopter's coming and they're like, oh, there he goes. And then we got the OJ chase.
Let me rephrase this. If I held you up right now in our office, okay, and I ran out with a pile of cash.
You could take all the change.
Hold on. I know. I take all the change scattered on your desk. However, the moment I walk through that door, I am a criminal. Fair?
Correct.
Okay. Nobody knows. People would be like, I could walk by people and no one knows. Nobody knows what I just did.
If you left this room
with
all of my change,
yes,
I would be screaming bloody murder.
Okay.
He's got my money.
Okay.
And then the people would all know.
But bank people, but tellers don't do that.
And
do they? Do tellers do that?
They would be tripping you and throwing chairs in front of you in the hallway.
So you think bank robbers are just very obvious and they're just easy to catch?
Now, I mean, probably the thing about it is, like, why am I trying to stop it? Like, it's not my market. I'm not getting shot over someone else's money. So when the guy says hit the floor and stay down, I'll take a nap. Like, I'll stay there all afternoon. I'm not getting up.
I agree with that. Well, here's the other problem you have too. In Pennsylvania, in February, most people would have on a coat or a hoodie or some sort of like bushy whatever.
Except the high school kid.
Except the high school kid. They don't wear anything nowadays. They would have some sort of winter hat on. Fair?
Yes.
And in the day of age we live in now, it's not uncommon if someone has a mask on. So like it's not like you look like a suspect like briskly walking down the street. You look like anybody else. Like there's no difference. And he didn't have a bag of cash he was carrying. It's not like he had a bank bag.
Why are you in a hurry? No reason.
No. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised.
Here's my next question. So when they do catch him, what's he charged
for? Intimidation, threatening a citizen.
It can't be anything big. He didn't.
I guess it depends on whether or not he was actually armed or not, because you can't take a firearm into a bank. I'm assuming that is against the law.
It.
Well, no, but
you prove he had one.
I agree with that. I understand.
And there has to be some sort of like yelling fire in a crowded theater. There has to be some sort of law that says if you claim to have a gun,
sure,
that's so. Yeah, but it would be interesting to know if they do catch him.
I think he would. I assume that he would be in trouble if he did. At a bank, the robber would be on camera, possibly even outside. And if he took the mask off outside, the cameras most likely caught him. I agree with that. I just think like in central Pennsylvania in February.
So far.
Well, I'm just saying in central February, in like February, if we had a camera outside in downtown Williamsport right now, how many people would you actually be able to identify between the coats and the hats and the masks? And like, you just can't. It's just a different.
No, I'm with you.
It would just be difficult. I don't think it would be that simple. Again, that's just one opinion. Here's the next one. They released a list of the number of people within the state of Pennsylvania, government employees, how many of them make triple digits. So $100,000 or more.
All right, since you told me the answer, and I listen to every word you say,
yes.
I will give the people a moment to think.
Okay.
How many governmental employees make six figures? It was like 11,000.
It was 11,887.
Which, again, goes to prove that I listen to everything you say.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how that works or not. I'm a little surprised. You did a good job of contextualizing this for me, and I think I'm going to end up being wrong about this. I felt the number was high. You felt like the government is big enough that it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean it's right, but it doesn't feel high.
It just depends how many people we're talking about, yeah.
Okay.
Because you get into, all the state universities.
Sure.
How much, I don't know what a professor makes. I don't know what, but there has to be at Bloom, how many employees at Bloom make $100,000?
Mm-hmm.
And, we've got football coach, whatever. But you've also got the president, the dean of students, the this and the alumni, the fundraising chair, the this and that. So it's
right.
Yeah. Now the next question is, of the 11,887, how many of them are worth six figures? That's the other question.
No, it's a really good point. So the earnings that they show reflected more than salaries. They can include overtime, bonus, retention payments, payouts, unused leave, all these other different things. Right. So they average those out to figure it out as well. Some of the people that were on here the most, there were a lot of lawyers, people in high-level leadership across the state, meaning government and universities. One of the biggest arguments in here was coaching as well, because there were a number of coaches listed on this throughout the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. And should coaches make $100,000? I think it's a fair question. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't.
Well, this is why they should, because it is, financially proven that I don't want to say the good coaches pay for themselves through alumni contributions, and contributions inevitably go up the more successful the team is.
Sure.
I'm sure Texas Tech basketball got more donations than they ever did last year after they made the Final Four. So it brings out the proud alumni. I remember a few years ago, and a few now, I'll say 10, when Newman first got really good at basketball. And there were Newman graduates who I know that don't even like sports, that were not only following the team, but actually traveling to these games to watch.
Okay.
Because it was, look at my alma mater's having success.
Okay.
So, yes, if you are for a program that doesn't win and doesn't do much and whatever, you might think it's too much, and in a lot of cases it probably is. But for the really good programs, the successful programs, a coach that makes 125, 150,000, whatever it is, he makes the school more than that in contributions. I would say.
You're just as far as like student retention, kids wanting to come to the school, student activities, giving the kids something to do by going to a game on like a Saturday or whatever.
I think alumni.
Is that what you're? Oh, an alumni too. Yeah, there's a side to that no one talks about, and I always forget about it. Where if you're a coach, like off season, off days, things like that, you have to go to booster stuff. You're shaking hands. You're kissing babies. Yes, you are a representative of the school.
Yeah.
It's a very valid point. I said to you, and you brought up a good point. I thought 10,000, 11,000 was a lot. And then you brought up the size of the government and how many people work technically for the state of Pennsylvania. You almost would need to know how many total government employees are working for the state.
Well, and I never even thought of this, but the attorneys that work for the government, the accountants that work for the government.
Right.
These people aren't morons. So
No.
they have to, and it's not like, the state of Pennsylvania has one attorney or, counties or, so yes, there are, I'm trying to think of what doctors would work for the state, but there have to be medical, there have to be
I would assume.
There have to be some highly educated people that work. So, I don't know. 12,000 still is a big number, but, whatever.
No, it's true. Let's end with today. This one will be interesting. We found a story about a relationship ending, and unfortunately, a pet lost its life as a result. There was a woman who tossed her ex-boyfriend's dog off the 7th floor of a balcony in Florida. We can talk about pets and relationships, how they should start off, everything else. This is like, of all the things you could do at the end of a relationship, the pet is really the debate that I think gets overlooked.
You mean when you buy a pet together?
Yes.
That's why you don't ever buy a pet together.
That's your number one advice. Don't ever buy a pet together. Interesting. But someone has to sign, like, do you have a pet right now? I don't think you do. Did you have a pet? What did you have?
Growing up, I had dogs, then we had a cat, then we had a dog.
Did you ever have a dog after you were married?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you guys had a dog. You've never talked about this before.
Yeah.
Is it bad? Is it like a touchy story?
No,
like you don't want
to. Here's the thing about pets, and this is the most, I like dogs. When your dog comes in here, I love your dog.
Okay.
I have no desire to ever have a dog again. Like they are constant like a kid. It is. You can't just pack up. Like yesterday, I went to work at whatever time in the morning. I worked here, then I went to the real estate office.
Okay.
I worked a long day at the real estate office. Then I was at a junior high basketball game. Then I left there. I went to the gym with and then after I got home, after I dropped him off, I was home and changed for 2 minutes. We went to the gym. I came home and changed for 2 more minutes. Then went back to the office. So between 9 a.m. and 11:30, I was home for 6 minutes. It's easy, unless you have a dog. And now all of a sudden it becomes like, I gotta go let the dog out. I gotta do this. I gotta do this. And this was just, one day, like Friday. Friday we have an issue with the show. I gotta pick up my daughter from college for spring break.
Awesome.
But I have to go pick up my daughter. So I'm probably gonna go out Thursday night. And then when I get back, then like Friday night, a buddy of mine wants to go to a concert down in Harrisburg and all these things. And how much more complicated would my life be with a dog?
I can't disagree with that. But one of the things that I've noticed having a dog is it does give you an excuse to slow down for a second. Like there are times where like, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to walk the dog. And like, I'm walking the dog. I'm getting my thoughts together. I'm exercising. Like there is like a stabilization that the pet offers that in your description of your life, I'm not saying your life isn't stabilized, but you are all over the place and running around. So sometimes the pet does give you like a ground of like, I know at this time during the day, I'm going to like walk the dog, have my thoughts, like have that relationship, and it is what it is. No?
I think the thing about dogs that makes dogs work is the unconditional love. Almost the relentless love.
It's insane.
And that is, I think it is, for any of us, like when you walk into the door, the dog is happy to see you.
Sure.
Every time.
Yes.
And people aren't like that. Your kids aren't like that.
Nobody's like that.
Nobody's like that, but the dog is. And it's such an, I don't want to say artificial, but it's almost like a drug.
Sure. Can I tell you something and you're going to make fun of me for this?
I make fun of lots of things.
I've never felt more guilty than after I got a dog, because that just unrelenting love that the pet has for you, I second guess everything. Like, was he out long enough? Did he get enough of this? Does he have enough of that? It's never
in return.
Yes. And so I have never felt more guilt in my life than having a dog.
Your relationship pressure is not with your girlfriend, it's with your dog.
I feel there are days, it's so funny because I'll be like, well, you know, the dog wasn't like, my dog doesn't even really get crated. Like he kind of like, he just kind of roams. He just kind of has like free range of like the houses and the apartments and the farm, and just like, he just kind of does his thing. And yet like I'll be like, well, you know, he was stuck inside for 6 hours and he had like, and like my girlfriend will be like, you realize that dog lives the dream. Like he's never crated. He's never, what's that?
She lives the dream.
Yeah.
And the dog.
Yeah. But her whole thing. And so that is the one, it took me getting a dog to feel like a relative sense of guilt on a daily schedule. Really? I did when he was younger. I didn't have a choice. I mean, he was a train wreck when he was younger.
I was in kindergarten, I think we got our first dog.
Okay.
But it wasn't, yours was big. Ours was just a little mutt. It was just like, it just slept on the couch.
So you'll get a kick out of this too. My girlfriend, when she first met my dog, she would refer to herself as the stepmother because I got the dog when I was in a previous relationship.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome. Has she come to love her stepchild?
It is now her dog. Like if you ask her, like it's her dog.
So here's my question for you then. I wonder what percent, we could probably Google this. Dogs on the couch or off the couch?
So our dog is off the couch. Sometimes he will beg to come onto the couch. He will not get on the couch unless you pat the couch. Like you have to give him the old like 1-2
You have to give him permission.
to go. Yes. And he knows it. Same with the bed. Same with pretty much any elevated surface. He will not get onto it.
Really?
Yeah. Now he'll put his head on it and kind of look at you, and he'll try to.
Rule. You stay off the couch.
Yeah, and he does a pretty good job with it. Very like few and far between.
Why can't your dog be on the couch?
I don't think it's that he can or can't. I think it's the idea that it's easier to give him permission to do it than it is to get him off of it when you don't want him on it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
The other thing too is when you go to other people's places, it's much better off this way. Because now they're not just going to hop on everybody else's stuff.
That's fair.
They have to be like, they almost have to get permission to do it, or yeah. He's pretty good about it. I lucked out.
Because I've just known people that, like, my dogs were wherever they wanted to be.
Okay.
And then I know other people who, like, the dog can't be on the couch, the dog can't be on the bed, the dog has its own bed.
Okay. No, we're not like that. Like the dog's allowed to like be up on the bed when we're sleeping. Like same thing with the couch. Like if we're sitting there, like he'll kind of put his nose on it. And if it's our couch, like he can hop up. But like if we're not in the house, like he kind of knows where he's allowed to go and where he's not.
How do you know? You're not in the house. It's like
I have a husky. You don't think that you wouldn't be able to tell?
Story when you're not in the house.
Slow down. You think he like cleaned? He takes the lint roller and like cleans the hair up after himself. Like he knows for
when
sure.
When you go into Jeff's house, there are multiple lint rollers right by the back door because they are a necessity.
That is a common courtesy and necessity, and when you have a husky,
I use them regularly when we used to film it.
So it is. So just the whole relationship side of this to wrap up the show.
All right, so back to the dog.
Yeah.
So
the owner tossed.
This is when women. And I shouldn't say this because I'm sure guys have done horrible things. I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure it breaks up. Guys have shot their ex's dog.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know if that's the exact example, but yes, I'm sure they've done awful things in spite of their girlfriend. Sure.
But this is when guys say women are crazy. It's because she threw a dog off a 7th floor balcony. Because she was a little angry.
But that part of it is absolutely insane. But this is the other part of it. In this article, she's a 46-year-old woman.
46.
Well, she's a 46-year-old woman. It doesn't say how long they were in a relationship, but what fascinates me, fascinates the wrong word. What really surprises me is, in order for her to do that, she must view the dog as his dog. Because if she felt any part of the dog's life or any part of the dog's relationship or anything else, there's no chance that dog's going over the balcony. So here's what's funny is like, in my world, like my girlfriend just dove into the dog. Like within a week, that was her. It was her dog. Maybe. I mean, that's possible. But within a week, like honest to God, within 3 visits, like there's no chance anything bad was ever happening to this dog on this girl's watch. And so here's like this lady's in a relationship. And clearly she's around the dog. Like she had to have been in the dog's life and all this stuff. And so that's that gap, right, of how she didn't feel any investment in the pet.
No,
that's a very interesting relationship dynamic too. Because I feel like most people, when you dive into the relationship, you dive into the pet. Like the pet is part of it. It's part of the deal. It's part of the relationship.
And I would say the next person who dates this chick, knowing that she threw the dog, you're asking for whatever you get.
You think so?
There's no way anyone ever has a good relationship with this person.
It would be very, very difficult. It doesn't say she was under the influence in the article. Yeah, so just a sad, sad story. But it had me thinking just about like relationships with pets. And that is the part of it. Like I said, I just don't understand. If you were in a relationship with this guy and the dog, to just have or do you think the vileness, like, do you think all she could think about was what would just hurt this guy the most, and like throwing that dog over the balcony would do it?
She just thought that he treated the dog better than him.
Oh, like he cared more about the dog than her.
You understand why he liked the dog better than her. Because the dog wasn't crazy.
We have to, at some point, we're going to have to talk about, I don't want to call it misogynist, but we're going to have to talk about
She threw the dog off the balcony.
I know. You don't think a guy's ever thrown a dog off a balcony?
I can only imagine.
Exactly. So just sad story. Go ahead.
And I lost my train.
Can I say something and then you'll find your train of thought?
Okay. There's a statistic. What percentage of breakups, either just breakups or actual divorces, where the dog goes back and forth custody-wise?
I'm sure it's happened. Legally and not
right,
and like without any legal repercussion.
Really common, or when, like in a divorce, does the dog just stay with one?
Well, wouldn't the simplest just be that like whoever stays in the house or whoever stays in the apartment?
Does the dog go with the kids? I wonder what, and I'm sure there's all kinds of scenarios.
Here's the other. Well, slow down, because here's the other catch to it too: is the money. Somebody paid for most cases. Somebody paid for this pet.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, depending on who paid for it and who didn't, kind of like that to me is the biggest key.
Well, when we were married when we got the dog, when we split up, the dog stayed in the house, which is where my ex stayed.
Okay.
But I continued to help like just, dog food, vet bills,
Sure.
things like that. And then when the dog got old and it was time to put the dog down, I paid for half of the dog.
Sure.
To go down, even though I hadn't been.
Yours is a little different though, because you guys had like years to kind of, I don't want to say like work that off of, but there was a background between the two of you that maybe somebody that's boyfriend, girlfriend after like 2 or 3 years doesn't have.
Yes, that's why boyfriend, girlfriend should never buy pets together.
Huh. What if you're in a relationship but you want then
it's your pet.
Like I think I had told you before, like I always wanted a husky. Like I always said, like I'm going to get a husky.
It's you didn't go pick it out together.
No.
You're like, listen, this is mine. And
I don't know if I said that, but I did. I went by myself to get it. My sister went with me, not the person I was seeing at the time. I paid for it. I paid for the shots, like all that stuff. So I never said out loud, but everything that I was doing, I feel like displayed that it was my dog.
See, I think this is where we need our psychologist or psychiatrist, one of the two.
Right.
I think it's something that young couples do because they want to show how serious they are as a couple.
Okay.
But can't afford a house. And they're not ready to get
married. So you look at it, it's like a furry ring, essentially, is what you look at it as.
I'm proving to you my love and my commitment to us that we're starting our little family. Even though it's not really a family, it's not a house, it's not a marriage, it's not a kid, but it's a dog.
Interesting.
This is the cheap, simple way to do that.
Interesting. Wouldn't a cat or a goldfish be better?
Cats.
I hate cats, but in the scenario,
I take that back because we're gonna leave.
I do not take it back. I dislike cats. I'm not afraid of them, but there's no purpose. I don't like cats.
You're either a cat person or you're a dog person, and we are clearly dog people. I've known some good cats, but generally speaking, we owned a cat for a while because they were easier to take care of than a dog.
Which was the point I was making.
But why would you? We'd also go for a day and not see the cat.
Correct.
So why do you have a pet that is a rumor in your own house, other than the food bowl is empty? So then, I don't get that. But I know people like, oh, my cat's so friendly. I read, my cat sits on my shoulder, and But not all cats are like that.
I just think this is so paranoia. They're just so suspect. Like you don't see them, and then all out of the blue they come and they're like, they try to nuzzle up with you, but then they hiss at you. Like they're just the number one thing that you opened up this whole segment with dogs is the unconditional love. Like it's just unconditional. Or else. And the cat is
you gotta work for it.
It's so I don't know. Not against cats, not afraid of cats. I don't think they're awful. But as a pet, when you think of unconditional love and what you're hoping a pet brings to you, cats are just brutal sometimes.
Yes, they're gonna make you earn it. And sometimes you just can't earn it.
That's so true.
There is,
so true. Real quick, Toasted Bagels down the street. Ran out of bagels this morning. Opening day.
You know why?
Why?
Because we had them on.
That's why. So if you want Toasted Bagels, you might have to wait. I'm sure they're making up some more. But
they're trying to do today. It might be tomorrow, but they had a really busy day. But
yeah, went through it opening day. Ran out. It's not a bad opening day.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Okay, anything else? Anything else before we go?
March Madness, it rolls in.
Yeah, it's here.
No, good luck to you tonight, even though you guys won't need it because you never need it because you're low side. You win all the time.
You know what bothers me about that is people think you're wishing me luck, but it just sounds like a jinx. Like it just sounds like a sarcastic. It just sounds like a sarcastic jinx, and it's just not appreciated.
People from Toursville have been trying to jinx Loyal Sock for a long freaking time.
Yeah.
And all you guys do is win. So apparently it's not working.
Yeah, but you guys win. It's not like you're the school of the blind. Like you guys win stuff. You have good football, you have good wrestling. Your girls' soccer for a while has been what are you talking about?
I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know. I never sarcastically jinxed Montoursville.
Okay, but you didn't grow up here. How about Wellsboro? Like, do you ever sarcastically jinx Wellsboro?
Listen, here's Wellsboro. How do I want to put this?
Were they your biggest rival growing up? Who was your biggest rival?
I mean, our biggest.
You were North Penn.
Our biggest rival kind of swung. The weird part is because of the way the towns are, like you could make the argument Mansfield, Liberty, and Wellsboro in a weird way are all, it's like a bowl. Like it's not like one town and then they keep going. So for us,
who was good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the simplest way to explain it. I think Mansfield and Liberty, because of football, there was a rivalry, but it was friendlier. Okay. Wellsboro just always, there was just this idea that like North Penn and Blossburg and parts of Covington, it was the foundry school, it was the smaller school.
They were just better.
In Wellsboro, like, it's kind of touristy. It's where like they have college professors in Wellsboro. Like they like
Are you saying Wellsboro is snobbier than Blossburg?
I'm saying there was just this feel growing up that, and here's the funny part. I grew up, I'm in Wellsboro now more than I am in Blossburg a lot of times because just like relationships and like they're downtown and just like I played pickup basketball in Wellsboro for almost a decade after college. Like I would go up on Wednesday nights and play with everybody. So like it's not a condemnation of Wellsboro, but when you're a kid, when you're a teenager and you're going through it, that's what it felt like. It felt like we were the foundry kids and just they were the touristy, professory town and just kind of everything was a little cleaner there. Everything was a little nicer there. That's how it felt growing up.
Were the girls hotter there?
Nah. It's just I was so focused on basketball at the time. Just I couldn't get past it. No, so that's what it is. High school rivalry. It's interesting because I've told you like with Montorzo and Loyalsock, the neatest thing for me about it is how close they are. Because even regardless of who our rival was, you had to get in a car and you had to go,
Yeah, because Northern Tier is more spread out. When you look at the great, Muncie Hughesville is a great
yes.
When you look at like down Shamokin, Mount Carmel,
right?
Those are great rivalries. So yes, and the proximity.
Yeah.
Lewisburg, Mifflinburg has a good one.
Yes. But the thing about all the ones you just mentioned is it feels like there's a very defined line of like, there is there and here is there and this is that line. In the Northern Tier, there's not really like a line. No, like it's like you're kind of over there and we're kind of over here.
Grove, Schicklin, we have the river.
Yes. Right. And so that proximity of like you're close and there's this one thing kind of separating the two. We didn't have that growing up. We had rivals, but it's just wasn't the same.
Muncie and Montgomery have a good one.
A decent one, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's Mount Carmel and Shamokin. But the weird part is because of the size of the schools, I feel like Carmel Southern is almost more of a rival now than Shamokin. I feel like Shamokin's big enough now that it's kind of, they don't have the district battles and like the stuff like that. Yes. Whereas Carmel and Southern can kind of keep bumping into each other.
When you talk to the 60-year-old codgers from down in the coal region, it was Mount Carmel and Shamokin.
Okay.
And it'd be interesting to see how populations have changed throughout the years because you're right. Right now, Shamokin's way there.
What's funny, like when you say rivals, what's funny is we always viewed our rival as like Lourdes and Newman because of just like Catholic public. Yeah. And so like you'd go into districts and it was like, can you get through Lourdes? Like, can you get through Newman? And there was always this sense of pride of like being a public school trying to get through like the Catholic school. That was so when you talk about rivals, that's always kind of stuck with me. We have Southern Columbia tonight. Oh, Southern. Yep, should be. They have the football is wore off. They are into form. They're in round ball form. They've been playing really well. They beat Wellsboro. If you haven't seen it, you can go on YouTube. They beat Wellsboro with a really good buzzer beater the other night. Really exciting stuff.
And their girls team doesn't suck.
No, they do not. I think they still only have one loss. I haven't looked in a second. Southern Columbia. 2A is I say this as respectfully as possible. 2A at the state level is the sweet spot. It is, you have a lot of Catholic schools and charter schools that are still single A, and then the larger ones or the successful ones have gotten bumped up to 3A, 4A. So you can be
it's almost a public school tournament.
It's very close. You still got a couple in there sprinkled around, But right now, 2A is a sweet spot, and it will ebb and flow. I mean, there will be a time where 2A is loaded and is.
But Mount Carmel won last year.
Mount Carmel won last year. Southern could
Southern's
make a
the team
run
to
this
beat
year.
wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and 2A
On the girls' side.
on the girls' side, yeah, 2A for sure. So they're going to play Southside. Southside just knocked off Mount Carmel. They're young. They just keep finding ways to win. It's kind of impressive. So it'll be interesting.
Who else keeps finding ways to win?
Who?
Loyals.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to Weiss Markets for being our sponsor. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news.
We will be here tomorrow talking about your latest victory and your preparation.
Don't see it's so subtle and sarcastic.
It's not sarcastic.
And you're trying to
you
jinx
win all
us.
the time.
You're trying to jinx us.
I'm not.
What do you like? Do you want me to apologize? Like, what are you
No.
looking for? Okay,
No.
so then what are you trying to do? If you're not trying to jinx us, what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get under your skin, and I think it works.
I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We will see you all.